Okie doke.
Okay, so today we're going to learn a little bit about colonial America and leading into the Revolutionary War, but not quite getting there yet, just leading into it. So there were three main European settlements in North America. Does anybody know which three countries?
Spain, France, and England.
All right. Do y'all know where they settled?
Well,
South
Spain
America.
stuck to Central America and the southeastern United States and spread to the southwest.
Yeah, that's true, but if we're talking just North America.
Oh, just North America? Well,
Florida.
England and France were in the northeast, and they spread outward. They spread eastward and upward.
All right, so yeah. Britain settled mostly, you hear about Jamestown, Virginia, but yeah, 13 colonies. And then France settled the Ohio River Valley area, and as well as like the Louisiana Purchase area. And then Spain was in like Florida and Mexico area. So yeah, all right. Needed that. We'll get a general idea of where they were. So, but yeah, things were going good. For the most part, they have their colonies and making money with whatever crops like tobacco and things that they're producing for their countries, but things had to get rocky. What happens is the 7 Years' War, otherwise known as the French and Indian War, it lasted from 1756 to 1763. And it was a big deal because whoever was going to win this war was going to be the superpower of North America. So it's between Britain and France. And what happened was the British colonists started moving into the French territory of the Ohio River Valley. And of course, that would cause conflict. So Britain ended up sending troops over to help the British colonists out. And eventually, Britain won the war, so that was a huge deal. And so you would think things would be fine. No. So the British colonists started pushing their luck again, and they were like, let's move out west. And so they ran into all these Native American territories. And so Britain decided to send troops again, and they helped them win all those little battles and wars. And so Britain at this point is going bankrupt from sending troops constantly. And this turned out to be called Pontiac's Rebellion. But after that, Britain decided, we're just going to leave these troops here. Like, these colonists, watch them get into another conflict again, and then we're just going to have to send troops again. But the colonists didn't like these troops being around. You might know why they didn't. Why wouldn't they like them being around?
It's an infringement of their rights, kind of, or it would seem like that because they didn't really have a voting power in Britain.
Right. Yeah. They also just, along with that, would treat them just down, like, you're not good enough, you're a colonist over here in North America, like, you know, we can treat you however, and you just have to deal with it because we're sitting here from you know, Britain and whatever. So because of the fact that Britain was going bankrupt, they started enacting taxes and different acts involving taxes. And there were two kinds of taxes at that time. There were the internal taxes and the external taxes. The internal taxes were mostly like marriage licenses and like registering to vote, sales tax, things like that. And the internal taxes, the money went back into the colonies themselves. The external taxes, which are like tariffs, they went back to Britain. And what happened was, in 1764, Britain claimed all the internal taxes for themselves. The colonists were not happy about this. And y'all ever heard of that, like, no taxation without representation? Yeah, that's where this mostly starts off. So they enacted the Sugar Act of 1764, Britain did, and it basically lowered the tax on molasses for the British colonists because most of the British colonists were getting their sugar from France. Anybody know why they were getting it from France? Yes.
France didn't tax them.
Yeah, it was cheaper. It was cheaper to get it from France. So Britain said, okay, we're going to lower the tax on sugar, and so the colonists will start buying molasses from us more, and that will make us more money. But they also made it illegal if you bought molasses from France. So the colonists were not happy about this. It's like, you don't even live over here, and you're making these rules about how we can live our lives and making things, you're messing up our way of doing things. And so the next act came in 1765, the Stamp Act, and that was an even bigger deal. The Stamp Act required that if you bought any kind of like important thing, like you had to have a stamp, you had to buy a stamp to go on it. Like if you bought like playing cards were a big deal back then. You might take a guess of maybe something else you had to put a stamp on, like something kind of daily life, but still like important.
Mail?
Mail, yeah, mail, postage, newspaper, things like that. Yeah, so the colonists were, again, not happy about this. And so they boycotted it for the most part. And within a year, Britain repealed the act, but then within that same year, they put in place a new act that it was called the Declaration Act. And it basically said, we as the British Crown and you as our colonists, we can make a law about anything we want, and you have to follow it, and tough luck is basically what it said. So yeah, so that is the big kickoff as to why the colonists started forming their army and deciding, like, we're going to go to war. We want to separate from Britain. They are choosing to control us, and we have no say-so just because we're colonists over here. So, yeah. You might have any questions about anything?
What do you think the turning point was?
The turning point, the Declaration Act, for Britain to say, like, we can make any kind of law and you just have to follow it. I wouldn't like that.
Yeah.